Okay, welcome to Daf. We're holding in Zevachim Daf Tzadik base, and we're starting to take Aleph on base in a few lines on the bottom. Take Aleph on base. Amar Shmuel. Hamisnadev Yain Meviu Mizal Fol Gebeishu. Someone who donates wine to Beis Hamikdash, he brings the wine. What does he do with the wine? He says he, not like Amar said before, that he pours the wine into the pipes, but he puts the wine into the issue, which means into the on the fire. It's on the fire. Says the Gemara. My time will call yain takriv lenesech chatzi yain ish rech l'Hashem. Speak about wine. It says ish l'Hashem fire. So one become mechabe, but he's extinguishing the fire. Says the Gemara, kibui mikzas lo yishmei kibui. Don't worry about it. It's only a partial kibui because not the entire fire goes out. We learned that someone who takes out a gachel, a coal from the mizbeach, he's chayav. Even though what? Even though is because it's more in the stands because of kibui. Why is it because of kibui? And there's many coals. Similar to the lake law, no, that's the only coal you have over there. Sima kibui the mitzvah shiny. There, it's a kibui the mitzvah, which means and when you're putting the fire on, you're right. You're not supposed to take even one coal out of many, but by putting the wine in the fire, that's what the halach is. Tashma Tana blows me Yaakov Klape Shenosna Toiro Litre. You have Truma Sadeshin. Truma Sadeshin means you take out the coal and you have to do a Truma Sadeshin, take a portion of the Medeshin, put next to his back. Maybe you will extinguish, do it. Amad Leichabe. It says not to be Chabe, even though it's a mitzvah. Shani also there you can wait. Just wait for it to extinguish and do it. There's no need to do it right away. So what Tashma Yain Kedivrei Rabbi Kivo is falling. Shemin Kedivrei we said clearly, we said before. Wine goes to the svalim, which means to some kind of pitchers that you have, you put the wine in it. And the shemen goes into the fire, not the wine. Oh, we Tanya says the right, so it goes to these pitchers. Or leishi, maybe tell me it goes to the fire. So clearly the Bryce says you can't put it on the fire. So Malay Kasha. If what? If Dover Shem Miskaven is Motoros. Here Dover Shem Miskaven. You're not intending to go and extinguish the fire. So you have a mechlikas, Dover Shem Miskaven is also Motor. Says the Gemara, Lameiro, the Shmuel Kev Shimon Tzvila. You want to tell me that Shmuel holds like Shimon? That he holds the Dover Shem Miskaven is Motor? Here, by the way, there's a discussion regarding the fact is it a psik ratio? Do we say there's no problem with psik ratio, or maybe it is not psik ratio? Push you can say it's not psik ratio. So, meaning, Rashi really was, if you look at Losh from Rashi, the last, no psik ratio. Something that you're not intending to do, according to sure you're not chayav. But if it's for sure going to happen, it's also like we have. That's the concept of psik ratio. Someone cuts the head of an animal, and he says, "I didn't intend for it to die." So you say psik ratio, you cut his head, it's not going to die. Yeah, it's going to happen. So here, psik ratio. Look at Rashi. At the end of the Amud, Rashi says, "If you tell you one line before that, you tell you psik ratio v'lo yamusu." Because you can do it in small drops, right? It's not necessarily psik ratio. That's what he wants to say. So anyway, the Gemara says the old Shimon. This is the Gemara. When the Shmuel Kavshim Sfirli, won't tell Shmuel looks up Shimon. From a Shmuel mechabim gacheles shamateres shusarabim. It says you're allowed to extinguish a coal of steel in shusarabim in Shabbos. So people will not get hurt. Why? Because extinguishing a metal, making metal lose its flame, its fire, it's only derabbanan. It's not deraiso, because not really extinguishing. You're not taking a fire, just the heat of the metal. Something about that saying based on dalef, but it's made out of wood, and then you extinguish it. That's deraiso. That you can do. If you hold that the Doshim is kamen is motor, afilu kachelet shaletz nami, even kachelet shaletz. Meaning, if you hold the Kavshim, it should be motor. Why should it be motor? Here's that. What do you mean? Miskaven. So here it's something else. Here's another din. Melacha shein tzucha legufo. Shimon holds. There's two things that Shimon goes on with Yichel Shabbos. Two things goes the whole time together. Torah shein miskaven, something you're not intending to do, that you putter. And melacha shein tzucha legufo. Melacha shein legufo means that I'm doing something I don't need the actual result of the melacha. For example, over here, he's extinguishing the wood. When you need the result, means I want the coal. Yeah, I don't need the coal. I just don't want it to hurt anybody. So it's malacha shein tzucha leguf. I don't need it for the purpose of that malacha. So the Gemara understands that Shmuel if you hold like a Shimon, you hold like a Shimon in both. If you disagree with the Shmuel, you disagree with both. So when you see that Shmuel disagrees with the Shimon regarding Melocha Shen Tzuk Legufa, if he's talking like a Shimon, I feel like a Nami. Says the Gemara, Medova Shem is Kavan, so like a Shimon. Melocha Shen Tzuk Legufa, so like a No, he agrees with the Shimon regarding Dova Shem is Kavan. He disagrees with Melocha Shen Tzuk Legufa. So here it says, why would I think even it's connected? Two different things. So Toys wants to say, he says that that any because it's any Dova Shem is Kavan, there's also Melocha Shen Tzuk Legufa. Because what is Dova Shem is Kavan? I'm not intending to do it. So whatever I'm doing, I don't need the result. For sure. Part of the idea is I'm not intending to do this. Immediately, I'm not looking for the result. If I would look for the result, I'm intending to do it. So I'm not intending to do it, I don't need the result. So I think we understood, if you hold Dova Shem is Kavan's mutter, so it goes together. Because any Dova Shem is Kavan's mutter, no, not necessarily. Dova Shem is Kavan can be something you don't need the result, but something that you have kavanah, but you don't need the result, maybe it's something that we don't disagree with Hashem. So the Gemara Mavur Nesachim Shenitmu. If you have Nesachim that became Tomei, Oisel Ma'arocha Fniatzom Mesurfa. You make its own fire and you burn it. Mishushineamar B'Kodesh Ba'Eish Tisorif. So it says that B'Kodesh Tisorif, you burn it B'Kodesh, referring to anything they do in the Kodesh. As Rashi says, this is the whole pasuk. You talk about Ol Psul like Mugdosh, anything that became pasul. And you learn from there, you have to burn it in the Azar. So you learn from here also, you have to burn this in the Azar. Now Rashi says, very interesting Rashi in the end, mamash the last few lines of Rashi in the Perek, Rashi says, Tameyani, Lama Soifin La'atzmam. Why do you burn it on its own? Why does this have its own fire? Because it's liquid, you want to make its own fire. If you do together with the meat, you won't see it being burnt because it's going with the meat. So I want to make it its own fire. So we know you have to do it. From the pasuk tells you that you have to do it in its own. You have to burn it in the Beis Hamikdash, and the svara is it has to be its own fire. Tanya mi'achi adam v'shemen, the blood and the oil, the menachos and flowers and Zevachim wine. Shenidim osel ma'arochav v'niatzav v'sorv, make its own fire and burn it. Only Shmuel avachav b'kedusah. I still be asor. Bring me 10 people. I want to say in front of 10 people. There's more of a public thing. I'm like very determined to come and tell you this big chiddush. So I'm saying in front of 10 people. And with this we end the parak. Look the Mishnah. Dam chatos shenita zalabeged. Now we're learning something which is called the halacha of kibus. Kibus means when you have the blood of chatos touching a clothing, so now that clothing needs to go to the mikveh. That's a din. The pasuk Rashi brings the pasuk of Asher Yozeh Midamo ala beged Asher Yozeh Aleh Tichabes B'Kol Kodesh. You have to have a special a special tvila if it touched blood. How be she'akosim medabes says the Mishnah Ela ben Echolos. Even though the pasuk is talking about the regular chatos that you eat, in the same pasuk it says that you eat it, and then it says if it touches the meat, the blood, so you have to get rid of it. Even the ones which are inside the Beis Hamikdash, they're called the primiyos, and they are not going on the. They're going to be not eaten. The din is you have to give kibus. Shneimar Torah sachatos Torah achas kol chatos. You give the same rule to all the chatos. TV, come join us. Oh, says the Gemara. Chatos psulo. Now that's so we talk about chatos over here. We'll see in the Gemara the one we're going to refer to in this moment to all the chatos. But right now we're talking about chatos primis and chatos chitzoyna. And we said that the same din that applies by chatos chitzoyna, that if you have blood sprinkling on the clothing, you need to go to the mikvah. You have also chatos primis. Then continues one and says chatos psulo ein doma ton kibus. You have a chatos which is puzzled, disqualified, so the blood does not need kibus. Doesn't matter if it had the opportune time to be okay or not. Which one is considered to be shasa kosher? Which means that it did opportune time to be ready. Shalona, it went overnight, it became noiser. V'shinit more became tummy. V'shiyatza left there some English. In all these cases, it was good and it became bad. That's called shasa kosher. There was a certain time when it was okay. What is the one which does not have shasa kosher? Meaning when you never was good, because when you checked it, it was already had the wrong mindset. He had a wrong mindset to do chutz b'koymo. Or you see the blood. In all these cases, it never had opportunity to be okay because it started with what? Right away, it started with a psul. Started right away with a psul. So that's called that didn't have shasa kosher. Shasa kosher means that it started okay, became bad. Shasa kosher started from the beginning to be bad. Says in the Mishnah, there's no difference. Chatas psula, it doesn't matter which psul it is. It's the psul in the beginning, psul in the end. The din is that dam doesn't need kibbutz. Says the one dam chatos v'chulei v'torah achas t'kol chatoris afil chatos oif nami. If you're saying that the blood of chatos that spills on a clothing needs to have a special kibbutz, which means special mikvah, and you learn from here chatos aprimus chatos chitzonis not all chatos, so it should apply also to the chatos oif, a bird. Allah matani. What did we learn? Chol yadam chatos oif ton kibbutz. Could it be the blood of chatos oif will require kibbutz? Talmud leima zois. It says zois. Zois is a mute. Tell me only the one I'm talking about there, which is chaz beimo. The same pasuk says, I mean, not exactly the pasuk, the pasuk before. It says, so we're talking there about shchito. When shchito is a custom medaber. Talk about shchita. So we talk about animals, birds, and anishcha, they're nimlak. So maybe as well we should be mimayit only the chatois that are eaten, which means the outside chatois you will have a din of kibbutz, but not the inner ones. So the more rabbi achmon Torahs. I have Torahs to be rabbi, I have zois to be mimayit. So I'm juggling between Torahs and zois. So why you decide to add a premios and to exclude oifos? That's what was basically building up to. So when we stop with the chatos beimo premius, it makes more sense. The premius should be miravi. Why? Sheken beimo, it's an animal similar to the chatos chitzonis. Kamoiso, the backhands. Veshchitaso kemoiso, same shchita. Veshchitat sofa, you do in the north. The Kabbalah itself, you have to receive the blood in the north as well. Kli, you receive it in a vessel. The Karen, when that fits, the Karen, the Etzbo, the you put it in the corner, in the horn. Put it with a finger. You put it on the edge. The Ishim, you put it on the fire. All this does not apply to Chatas Oif, because Chatas Oif is not a behemo. You don't do it in Davka in the north. You don't have Kabbalah's Kli because you do it with your finger. You don't have Karen because you just sprinkle it, and obviously you don't have the etzba and chud, you don't do it on the corner, and there's no issue because you just sprinkle it on the mizbeach. Says the one, maybe you should do chatas soif. She can chutz kamois. It's outside of beisamig, outside of the eichel. It's in the azara, like chatas beimo, not the premiers. Ve'achil kamois, you also eat it. Hanek nefish. That's more. So the more basically says, I have two things, two types of chatas. We talk about chatas beimo, regular one. Now there's chatas premiers and there's chatas soif. Which one of them? One of them I have to add, and one of them I have to exclude. So I'm going to say the chatas premium, which is more similar than the chatas soif. No, Josh. Omar call Yechle no. Shonachilo lezu veloy lacheres benecholois miasakoto. Meaning, the Torah says you eating one after the other. I should talk about the ones you're eating. The only ones you're eating is chatas, regular chatas, and chatas oif. Chatas, the premier, is that you don't eat. So the exclusion is within the ones that you eat. So well, ve'ela zois lamal is writing zois. Just say Yechle. So the more you love zois avamino yuchleno orche dekro kashwan. It's normal to say Yechle, not necessarily it's a mute. As Rashi says, because the pasuk says, the lotion of the pasuk is, there's a lot of other ones that sounds that way. It says tishachet achotas b'psara mindomo. It says also yuchleno. But now that it says zois, I know I have to remind. Now I'm trying to figure out what I'm talking about. Rabbo Maravakor Sheyozoe. When you sprinkle by Hazoris, Akoso Midaber. We're talking about Hazoris, meaning, what are you going to tell me? We're not talking about Chatos previous, Chitzonius. We're not talking about Chatos that's outside. We're talking about the inner chatos. Why? Because it says the pasuk says, we're talking about the one who is being sprinkled. Right? So we're talking about the sprinkled one. Which one do you sprinkle? Chatos Supremo, you go and you sprinkle it on the pareches. Chatos Chitzon, you don't sprinkle. You receive the blood and you throw it in his back. You don't sprinkle it. Sprinkling only occurs with Chatos Supremo. So you're saying, how do I know Chatos Supremo is the one that causes kibbutz? Because the pasuk is talking about Chatos Supremo. That's what the Gemara says. Oh my gosh, because Dabar, another lotion over here is Banizois. It has been the one that has Azor. So the Gemara but we have a fair price that says the pasuk is referring to the ones that you're eating, not the one that you're throwing, which is Chatos Chitzonius. So the pasuk there is talking about two different things. One is that you have to clean the vessels that you use. Marika v'shtifa is inside cleaning, outside cleaning. That's one thing. There's another thing you have to do, which is kibus, which is washing the begit. Two different things. That when we're talking about the cleaning of the vessel, that's talking about Chatos Chitzonius. When we talk about kibbutz, talk about the premiums. Avaya kibbutz, asher Yosek Ksiv, talk about Azor. Yachi. So 1 second. But what did we say in the Mishnah? We said Echad the premier. The last of the Mishnah is Echad the necholos. The Echad the premiums tunus kibbutz. Necholos and premiums. Sai necholos, sai premiums need kibbutz. So says the Gemara, according to you, Yachi Echad necholos have premiums. Echad the premiums. Echad the necholos mi baile. You should say premiums first because that's the source. So when you're right, Tani Echad the premiums, Echad the necholos. You have to fix the lotion, right? Meaning, and this is what Tais says over here on the side. What the Gemara is telling us, whenever you tell me two things, usually the pashut is the one said first. So the more pashut, and then it says the chiddush. So the pashut one is the one that says first in the pasuk. The second one is the chiddush. So you should say the one which pashut. Which one the pashut? The way the Mishnah reads, not sure the chitzonius is the pashut one. But according to what we're saying right now, the pasuk is talking about premiums. So the Gemara, yachi chatasoiv nami. So why you don't add chatasoiv? Again, we have the mute. Yachi chitzonius nami lo ribo chmana. Nami lo. So chitzonius also should not be added. Similar answer. So why you say that? So it's very simple. We said before. Just before we're talking about Zois and Toiras. We're telling you we're talking about Chitzonius. What are you adding to Chitzonius? Premius. What are you excluding Oifis? Now we're saying when we talk about his Premius, what are you adding to Chitzonius? What are you excluding his Oifis? How do you know this thing? We start with Chatas Behemo. It should be Chatas Behemo. Sheken Behemo. It's a Behemo like her. Shechid the Tzavon also in the north. Kabbalah is clear to receiving a Kli. Karen in the corner, Etzva with the finger, Chudo in the corner of the horn, Veishim, put in the fire. But a Chatasoiv you sprinkle. There's much more similarities to Chatas Primis, Chatas Chitzonius, Chatas Primis, the Chatasoiv, the Chatas Primis. So two ways I understand. Either the pasuk is talking about Chitzonius and I'm adding Primis, or the pasuk is talking about Primis and I'm adding Chitzonius, and in both cases I'm excluding Oifis. Let me ask the question. So now the question is like this. I don't receive the blood into a vessel. What do? You check the bird, and then you take the bird with you inside. So you're using the bird, the neck of the bird, that's in lieu of a kli. But the Gemara now is going to discuss, we'll see two different svekes. Do you really consider this to be a kli or not? Or it's not a kli? Meaning, I don't have a kli. But do I say the neck is the kli? Or no, the neck is nothing. I mean, neck is not really going to work as a kli. So they want to follow. Now we know, if you take the blood and you go into the heichel, we saw that before, the blood becomes puzzle. But here he's taking the blood in the neck. Do I say the neck is like a klisharis? Like any other blood that goes inside. Maybe it's considered to be like the neck of the animal. Neck of the animal, if you take the animal itself inside the Beis Hamikdash, you don't get, it doesn't become puzzle. Why not? Because the reason why it doesn't become puzzle is because it says Doma v'Lipsar, only the blood, not the basar. So is the neck of the oif considered to be like a kli or like the basar of a behem? If on its own, it jerked and went inside. The chazer came back. Share. Mashma, that's it went inside on its own. So if someone put inside, psula. Say 1 second. The time. Can be kodesh kadosh v'ktani. It says kodesh kadosh in prikus of yotzol adorim. If it jerked, you went to the south instead of being in the north. V'chazok sheiro. Ha'itziya psula. Mashra, if you took it out, possible. That's not true. If you go from the south to Durham, there's no issue. The only problem is they're going inside, they're going outside. We don't have any issue going from the north to the south. So of course that's not the diuk. So what is the diuk? I can tell you if you went on itself inside, it's not paisel. When itself outside, it is paisel. There's also here nothing to do with if you put it in. It could be if you put it in, it doesn't become paisel. Just telling you the diuk if it goes out. Oh yeah, Ravin. That already point out that seemingly this is the same question. What's the question? We have a din. What the din is like this: when you have blood in the neck of the baby, and the blood spills on the floor, blood spills directly on the floor. Is that a din? Is that possible or not? If it goes straight from the neck, we have the really it's the Gemara in Daf Chafei. The blood goes straight from the neck of the behemoth to the floor, possible. If the blood went into a kli, and then from the kli went to the floor, then you can pick it up. You can fix it. So the Gemara. What happens if it goes from the neck of the bird to the floor? Again, very simple question. Is the neck a kli? Going from the kli is okay. Or the neck is not a kli, and it goes straight from the neck. So boy Avavi. It fell on the floor and picked it up. It's true when a klisharis. You don't need a klisharis, meaning the neck is in lieu of klisharis. The same way klisharis works as well. If you pick it up, it's okay. Or maybe just the fact that it's in klish. The Torah did not tell you that I don't need klisharis, meaning this is your klisharis. The Torah told you that klisharis ruins it. I'm not. In other words, not that I'm doing something instead of klisharis. Klisharis is not good for it. I don't have klisharis over here. So the neck is not klisharis. So maybe you pick it up, it's possible. So that's the shaila. The shaila is it a problem for it to be klisharis? So if you don't have a klisharis here, or I don't need the klisharis. So I'm basically like a klisharis already. Look back to our sugya. Can it be that the blood of chatas ha'if that's spilled on a beged will cause it to have kibbutz to put it in the mikvah? If you hold that when it goes to a kli, it becomes possible. Typically, just the fact that it was on the airspace of the beged of kli of the beged of kihuna, it became possible. And once it became possible, it doesn't cause kibbutz. It was we learned in the Mishnah. Our Mishnah we learned today. Tam pasul doesn't make kibbutz. So here, if the problem is that the blood of the bird being in a klisharis is pasul, that's why I can't use a klisharis. So klisharis is basically it's like it has an allergy to klisharis. It's not part of klisharis. So the minute it's in the air of the kalim, it should be pasul. The Gemara understands. So the Gemara talk about that he puts the kli, he doesn't allow it to spill in the air. He takes the baguette and directly puts it on the blood. Meaning he never went in the air. You're right. If you could be the klisharis ruins the blood. And here, if it would be in the airspace of the baguette, it would become possible. But here it was never in the airspace. So he came about sachas. When it touched the kli, he basically put the baguette next to the blood. So he immediately became possible. It became possible right when he touched the kli. So that's why it wasn't possible before. And maybe it's its own kibbutz. So the more here is the Chodim we discuss a lot about the Shiloh, but just for us to get into the zone of this, he wants me saying, do I look at this? Is the neck a klisharis? Really, I have a klisharis and that's the neck. Or no, it cannot have klisharis. That's why I don't have a klisharis. So anything to do with the kelim will ruin the bird. One more question over here today. We said the blood hits a clothing and makes it tone kibbutz. What happens if he hit one clothing and then from that clothing went to another clothing? What's it? The first beged already made in mechubas and it's out. Or maybe not. Maybe what's not? Maybe that's another gears over here. So do we saying that once it hits one beged, it's still the blood has power to make another beged mechubas? Or do we say once it hits one beged, it's finished its job, so to speak? This is a good question. You do need to kibbutz. Why you need kibbutz? If you hold it, you still can collect this blood, the blood that's spilled on the beged. You can still collect it and use it. Hakosher. It's still kosher blood. So you know if it's still kosher, if it went to another beged, it should be paisel. If I could still use it, what's the between it touching the beged the first time, touching the beged for the second time? And if you hold, then you pick it up, it's possible. We all like Rebbe Kiva. We didn't see that yet in the Mishnah. But in our Mishnah, we just saw the Mishnah says no difference between Shasa Kosher and Shasa Kosher. But Rebbe Kiva holds no. If it was Shasa Kosher, meaning if it was okay for a little while, then it doesn't cause kibbutz. So here, when the blood in this case had the blood in this case had Shasa Kosher. Why? Because before it touched the beged, it was okay. So he says like this: I hold that anything that was kosher, even for a little bit, if it touches it, it's not possible. The gabi kibbutz. If it's kosher for a few minutes. So here we Moshe. When the blood spills in a beged, does it become possible or not? It doesn't become possible. So of course, if it touches another beged, it should make a problem. If it becomes possible, I hold that whatever used to be kosher and became possible is going to be still tone kibbutz. So Yimonosha, this is tone kibbutz. So going from one beged to another beged, for sure the second one should be kibbutz. Yimonosha, either it's kosher or possible. In both cases, it causes kibbutz. That's what he holds, and that's what the Gemara concludes with this question. And now the Gemara is going to continue with these questions. We have one big one coming up at Tzaddik Gimel, and the next stop is Yosha. Call to David. Yeah, I think tomorrow we'll do the regular.